2.
Welcome to Three Black Lives with the Mic, the podcast for politics, hip-hop, and the urban community. Spud is here, along with Maynard Scales, my man Lamont, and what I would think was our very first guest, right?
I think so. I think he was the very first.
Was he the first?
Dillard, our very first guest on Three Black Guys with the Mic, is back 3 years later with a whole bunch of new things. 4 years later, I'm sorry.
It's been that long. It has been that long. It's been a long time.
I know, right? It's been a minute.
Didn't you have dreads last time, Karlos?
What'd you say?
Didn't you have dreads or?
I had dreads. I had so many hairstyles. I forget which I had. I don't know what
time. The one thing we didn't know, Karlos, and I know that when you first came on, you talked about your relationship. If we were in a relationship now, we don't want to disrespect that one, but we did not know that you were on with Judge Lynn Toler.
Oh, well, that happened, I think 6 or 7 months after our interview. So that was, and we were under contract, so I couldn't say anything because we.
Oh, okay, got it.
Y'all know the NDA, they be tight.
Get to tell us that he was on divorce court.
Yeah. So we were on there. We had some problems, but we worked them out. Judge Lynn helped us out. I'm still with the same boys.
Good. I'm glad that y'all worked that out. I like Judge Lynn Toler. I watch.
She just got replaced. She's not the judge anymore. They got a new judge now.
Oh,
yeah, the young judge. She's black still, but like Judge Lynn, she retired. So I'm happy that I got to
throw this very long Hail Mary, and let's start with politics. I have to start with politics with you. So the first time we interviewed you, we talked about you were a Donald Trump supporter. I just want to know where you are with the president now, and
Spud. I'm sorry. Before we let him answer. a lot of people don't remember the whole thing, right?
So anyway, okay, I'm sorry. So Karlos Dillard was on with us back in 2016, 17, where he was one of our very first guests, if not the first guest. And so he came out and he said that he was a Donald Trump supporter. Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted to know, where you are now with the president and what you feel.
Wait, there's some other parts.
Yeah,
we're going to get to that part.
So, in the primary, I supported Trump because I'm a black business owner. I really didn't think I thought that he was going to help businesses, small businesses. And then I really didn't think he was going to do that much racial damage. And I still stick to my point to this day. He hasn't really done anything directly to black people, but his antics over the last 3 years have just ignited so much ignorance from both sides. Because I have friends who are Republicans, I have business associates who are Republicans, and I have friends who are Democrats. And there's just so much animosity and just so much. He just created a lot of hoopla for no reason, and I feel like we're at a worse state than we were. But I still stick with my thing. I don't think he has hurt small business, and I don't think he has directly affected black folks like he has affected Latinos, Muslim Americans, Chinese Americans with just his antics on Twitter. So yeah, I ain't voting for that nigga again.
Wait, Spud, you didn't give him the we're not supposed to use the N-word on here, right? Isn't that the new rule for 2020?
Sorry,
okay, all right.
That's all right. We went through that same thing with you before. That's all right.
Yeah, but so Karlos, you saying that you've moved from the right over to the left column for this upcoming vote? It's a vote at least not for Donald Trump.
Yeah, it was a vote for not for Donald Trump. I also didn't vote for Biden. My preliminary vote went for Elizabeth. I voted for Elizabeth. Was it Warren? Yeah, Miss Warren. And she obviously didn't make it, but we all have to get him out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and vote for Mr. Biden.
That's one for us. It's one for us.
But Maynard, did you see how reluctant he was to say that? And Maynard, that's what's very scary.
He can go in there and hold his nose. He can go and hold his nose and vote for Biden. I don't care. Just vote for Biden.
Okay.
I'm just voting for Biden because he's the lesser of two evils. So,
who do you want to see him as his running mate?
I would love to see Kamala Harris. I would love to see a black woman step into that. If he gets a black woman on, my whole attitude would change. If he gets Kamala Harris, if he gets.
Why would he change if it's a black woman?
Because I feel like for one, she's actually going to represent us. I think if we just get another white man, yeah, he's not Trump, but he's only going to do at that level of politics. It's not Republican Democrat. It's just a good old boys club, and who can I help? So I think if you have a black woman, particularly in that position of a vice president, she's actually going to make sure that some things that we need as black people go through. And I think they'll put us at a better position for African Americans. And that'll just make me feel better as a voter if he has someone that I feel comfortable with, because he's what makes him different than just any other white man. You know, he has a past too, and his voting record hasn't been up to snuff. And I really don't think he can write off Barack Obama anymore. I watched the endorsement that Barack gave him. It was long. I loved it. I also looked into the law. There's nothing against Barack Obama being his running mate. So I would love to see Barack Obama come in as the vice president. There's no law on the books. There are no laws on the books that say that a previous president cannot step in as a vice president. So I would love to see that happen.
Nothing wrong with that. Maynard, it's on you, my man.
So, Karlos, I think that, for those who may or may not know, the reason why I kept saying we need more information is Karlos came to us on the show. First of all, one of the things, if he wasn't the very first guest, he was one of the first people who was like, I listened to all your shows, because you were driving from Florida to, and you would listen to all of the shows, and, that was early. And he wanted to argue with me about something. I don't know why he would want to argue with me. I'm the nicest person in the world. But a lot of people don't know, like Karlos this was amazing. He's a homosexual male, black, and a conservative Republican, which is all types of contradictions in of itself. What has the climate been like? Because you mentioned you mentioned blacks and Latinos and Chinese. What do you think the climate has been like towards the LGBTQ community?
I think even in my first interview, I think I referred them as the Alphabet Mafia. I have never fucked with the Alphabet Mafia.
That's what Lamont calls them.
I'm sitting here so quiet. This is why, Karlos, you are my man, 50 grand. Because when I say the same thing, but in Maynard, they crucify me. But go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
Listen, as I can say it, because I'm part of y'all's community. My experience right now, there is no difference between a white gay man and a white gay or white Trump supporter. Because 9 times out of 10, majority of the white gays that are in Seattle are Republican, or they have deep roots in Republican ideals. So when it push comes to shove, they're white all the way. And Kristen and my husband and I, we've seen it over and over and over, and been in situations where we've been kicked out of the gay club for being transphobic. How the hell can I get kicked out of a gay club with my husband for being transphobic just because I misgendered you? Just because on accident, I just said, excuse me, bro. And he was like, I'm a woman. I'm like, I'm going to be real here. And this is why I'm controversial. I think a lot of white gays and a lot of people in the LGBT community, there's a lot of people who really struggle. They struggle with their identity. They struggle with being trans and being in a body that they don't feel like it. But I know a lot of people who just want to be different, who just want to have something different from them. And then those are the people who every other week they have a different label. And then as a person in the community, I have to keep myself up with all of these different acronyms, because I have people like you guys being like, so what do you think about this acronym and AFAB and AMAB and non-binary? And I have to sound a little bit educated because I'm supposed to be clumped into that community. And a lot of times, 96% of the time, that community doesn't really represent us when it comes down to black shit. And I called out all of my white gay friends, especially with Ahmad this last weekend with Ahmad. I had a lot of gay friends talking about Pride being canceled and all this. I'm like, so when are y'all going to post about Ahmad? When are y'all going to post about black shit? I know whenever there's a gay issue, y'all out here hooting and hollering. But whenever there's any issue that makes you a little uncomfortable, they're just kind of silent. So that's
I wonder why, is that, what do you think that's from? Is that just fear of, or is that just racism?
It can't be fear, because even as a gay person, you live your life in fear. Not saying that white gay people don't live their life in fear, because they do. Just because they're not black doesn't mean they also don't get discriminated against. I know they do. I've seen it. But I do believe that if you can stand up for one thing, you have to stand up for all of it. So what is it? Is it fear? Is it that you don't know? It can't be that you don't know. We have Google. We have voices like myself who always speak out.
What if they just don't care?
You just don't fucking care. Right? You don't care. I mean, you don't care. So there isn't an excuse for it if you don't care.
Yeah, very much too. Let's talk about your book, Karlos. I didn't get the opportunity to read it, but I do want you to dive into it, especially, and we talked about it the first time that you were on, and when you were actually on my radio show, about growing up in foster care and, especially, growing up in Detroit and Highland Park and so forth and so on, and your relationship with your mom. Dive into what the book is all about.
Well, if you guys don't know, May is actually National Foster Care Month. So this is a very important month for me because this is the month that I reach out to foster kids, but not more importantly, foster adults. A lot of people forget about kids like me who grew up in the system, aged out, and then we don't have parents. Or maybe we do have parents, but our relationships are estranged. So my book is called Word of the State. This is it here. You can get it wherever they sell books, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Target, my website, karlosdillard.com. But pretty much what I did was I took each foster home I was in, and I consolidated them into chapters. It's a small book as compared to a read. It's only a 3.5-hour read, but I've had some people that it's taken 2 months to read. I've had people who've read it in one day. But what everyone has said is that there's a chapter in this book, if they were a foster child or not, that there was some trauma that I went through that they can actually relate with. And that's what I think is important, especially with foster kids. There's so much trauma, especially during now with quarantine. We see domestic violence going up. We see suicide rates going up. And I think it's important for us to speak about being foster adults and foster adults really in needing help. I recently did a talk in Seattle it's Seattle's largest public speaking platform called Ignite Seattle 40. And I spoke to over 2,500 people about the importance it is to be a friend of a foster adult. I think that was the name of my talk, a friend of a foster child. And how important it is for you guys to reach out and to acknowledge that foster kids they're going to develop differently because of the trauma. So they're going to respond differently to different relationships, especially in adulthood. So in that speak, I want you guys to go look at it, and I'll give you guys a link to set it up in the show notes. But it's really important because, especially during this time, you have to reach out to your foster adult friends and your adopted friends and your friends who are maybe mentally ill. But more importantly, the friends who don't have family. I know yesterday was Mother's Day. My mom died, and it was Mother's Day, and it's quarantine. It's just it was just a lot on top of things. And this is a really important time right now, especially during this quarantine and this coronavirus, just to look out for your foster people.
And you could, you can expand on or not, but one of the issues that I have with the foster care system is, the continuous placement of kids. My wife and I were going to adopt, and we were going to, adopt out of the foster care system. And one of the things that they told us in, the conversation when we got to that step, which was you have to understand if you become a foster parent, you may not be with this kid for a year. You may be with this kid for 4 days. You may be with this kid for 5 years, and we were like, well, we don't want to, have a bunch of different relationships with, kids. To me, that is a very, very, very tough thing for a child to go through multiple relationships with families. Some of them are abusive. Some of them are neglectful. Some of them are loving, but it really is unfortunate that the foster care system, places you in so many different homes and not provide any consistency.
And so that's the fact that you and your partner even thought about that just shows how amazing of a foster parents that you would be, because you're taking into consideration, emotionally, do I have enough emotional, can I do this for multiple kids? And a lot of foster parents don't think about that. But what I will have to say is, you brought up a lot of points about how foster kids, when they get bounced to foster home, there's a lot of negatives. And I got bounced around from a lot of foster homes just because the foster homes were either mentally, physically, or sexually abusive. But if we have foster parents like yourself, the idea is for that child to stay in your home until they get adopted or until they age out. The reason why we have a lot of kids bouncing around is because we have a lot of foster parents who are getting into it for the money, really for the money. There isn't any other reason. Or if you really, truly do want to be a foster parent. In my talk, I talked about the negative experiences of going through all of those foster homes, but there are positive experiences. I was with Asian people, I was with white people, I was with Muslims, Christians. And so now as an adult, I'm actually very well-rounded when it comes to other cultures and other experiences that a lot of kids didn't get, but besides being like a foreign exchange. It's kind of like being a foreign exchange student because you're exposed to a lot of bad things and a lot of violence and a lot of abuse, but I was also exposed to a lot of different cultures in life. And that's one reason why I'm kind of a Black conservative. I just didn't grow up this way. I was exposed to a lot of white people and watching them and listening to the Dixie Chicks and Trace Atkins and living in Wyoming for 2 years. So like it really did, it kind of does mold you and make you who you are. And I think that could be a positive thing as well.
I just want to say we want some masks, and I'm going to let the mic get it, but we went to your website and I was like, dang, Karlos Dillard got mad. I just want to just say, Karlos, you are a hustler. If nothing else in the world, you are the epitome of a hustler. I went to your website. I was like, wait, Karlos is a comedian? Me and Maynard was like, wait, he's a comedian? We didn't even know he was a comedian. Second, then you were like, you have masks, you got shirts, you got merch. All of that stuff going on. I want to, I want to get into the website, but I know Washington was one of the first states that really had a high amount of cases for COVID-19. Mm-hmm. How did you guys survive, with, the coronavirus and staying safe and, making sure that you guys were social distancing?
Well, first of all, I'm blessed. My husband has a job with the city. As soon as there was a whiff of, as soon as Amazon shut down, every pretty much the city shut down. And that was, I think, like March 16th. So he's been able to work his job full time from home. And then as far as for me, I'm an entertainer. I took a huge hit. Like you guys said, I had comedy shows lined up. I had a book tour that was a 3-state book tour that was lined up. I had everything, all my commercial gigs. I do commercial TV. I had about almost 30 grand worth of stuff that was lined up that got canceled. And for like 3 or 4 weeks, I sat there and I was just like, I kind of shut down. I went through depression. And then one of my friends was like, Karlos, you're a hustler. You're going to think of something. And I saw people selling the masks, but then I went back and forth. Like, do I want to sell these masks? But then my husband was like, Karlos, you have the material. You have the skills. Because I think right when I first did the first show, I was about to go to New York Fashion Week with my dog's brand. And I had learned how to sew during that time. And then I already knew I had the skills. So I just came up with the mask. That was like 3 weeks ago. And I've made so much now. I felt guilty. So now I'm like donating 2 masks per mask I sell, because I'm just like, now there's so much profit. I'm like, I got to give some of this back to the community. So what I did was I'm actually donating masks to my local, what's it called? Child Haven, which is like I was in Child Haven when I was in foster care. It's a place where kids go in between foster homes, and they need a lot of masks because they have a lot of kids coming and going right now. So I've been donating masks to them. But yeah, it was literally my hustle. I really didn't need the money, but I just needed something to do. I'm a person where I have to stay busy. And it was just something that was there, and I had the skill set. So you might as well do it.
So Karlos, let me ask you this question, because we all are a super uber fan of your YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you.
If those that are watching this, if you're not subscribing to his channel, you're missing out. But let's go back, Karlos. Let's go back and talk about the video that you did, the weed smoking. Mm-hmm. Was it with the rabbi? Is that what it was?
Rabbi Atheist. Yeah.
Yeah. So explain that again, because I'm wondering, has your position changed? Because that's been a couple of years now, right?
Yeah, that video went viral about 4 or 5 years ago.
So what was the video exactly for those who haven't seen it?
Yeah, so the video was myself. It was a Presbyterian priest, I do believe, either a Presbyterian or Lutheran. I'm not sure which one of those. It wasn't a Catholic priest. And then a Jewish rabbi, and we sat down together and smoked weed on set. It was about an 8-hour shoot, but they completed about an 8-minute video. that they put up on YouTube. And we just discussed politics, religion. At that time, it was the primaries, so we were going through it. And I was questioning them for my position as an atheist, per se. The only thing that has changed for me from that video is that I'm more agnostic now than atheist. And that just goes from me just taking a deeper, I've been doing a lot of like digging and like self-meditation. And I think being atheist just means that like you're too self-centered, but being agnostic just gives you a little bit of more of an idea of like, there might be a larger being, I just don't know all the answers. And I think I was there when I did that video, but people just like, oh, atheist and agnostic are so close that some people just get them confused a lot. But yeah, that's literally the only thing that's changed is that like now I believe in the universe. I believe that I can manifest things. And I have, because, you know, like you said, the first 4 years ago, when the first show, I was like, talking about this book and talking about my comedy and things that I wanted to do. And I've manifested those things to fruition. So I definitely believe that in the power of manifesting. And to believe in the power of manifesting, you have to believe in the power of a higher self. So I don't know who the higher self is or what it is, but that's the only thing that's changed since that video.
But to be clear, you still smoke weed.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Karlos, man.
Oh, okay. All right.
Two things, and we'll wrap here. One, I think we got to figure out how we can get a 3 black guys with a mic mask in your merch, right? So you can do that. We're going to need to do some licensing deal, but we'll work it out. But
polish is expensive, man. The wholesale fee might be more expensive than the licensing fee.
Any mouse for $10, it goes up. You got to over any mouse over 10 quality. You want more than 10, it goes up by like 50%.
Right.
But so just to kind of wrap here, you got the book. You've been acting in the past. You've been a comedian. You're a comedian and an actor and an author, and just all around, just kind of a cool dude. I appreciate you. Tell us where people can get the book. Tell us where they can see you on the web and all that good stuff.
I've done a great job branding myself the last 4 years. So it's Karlos Dillard, my first and last name, at everything. If you just throw up Karlos Dillard on karlosdillard.com, that's my website. Karlos Dillard on any social media is going to get you to my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I prefer you buy my book from my website because I have a lot of them in my bathroom shower that I have to sell. But you can buy it at Target or at Barnes & Noble. But if you want it signed by me, it's a little bit more special. You can get it at karlosdillard.com. My husband and I have had a podcast. You guys inspired me after I got on your podcast. And I started my own podcast, and it's called Kicking It with Chris and Karlos. So that's something you guys can definitely check out if you haven't. Just me and my husband bantering. We talk about politics, being black and gay in our community. My husband works in Section 8, so he talks about his experience there. And then let's see what else. After coronavirus, I'll have a book tour. So I will be coming home to Detroit, probably in Dearborn. So it's not really Detroit. It's hard to find a place that'll host, really. It's hard. It's been hard. I've been looking, but if anybody know any place who wants to host in actual Detroit, I would love it. But I will be doing my book tour, my West Coast book or my Midwest book tour in Detroit, Chicago, and probably a town in Indiana. So definitely come and check that out. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's next. You guys, I might be on the red carpet in another 4 years.
Hopefully. That would be
that's the aim.
And you know what's funny is we'll probably look up and see you on the red carpet and be like, dang, he didn't even tell us he was going to be on the red carpet.
He didn't even throw us no shout out. I'd like to thank all the little people.
I'll just pop up random. Just be like, I know him.
Right. Man, Karlos, thank you so very much.
He won't take our call later on, man.
Right. We appreciate you, sir.
No problem. Thank you guys so much. And keep doing what you're doing. I love the show. I love the revamping, the rebranding. I love everything. Keep going. I would
have to say, man, I think I speak for all of us to say, it really is encouraging to see your growth from the first time that you were on, see all the things that you have done, your articulation, your maturity level has grown. And it's just amazing to be able to, be able to be on this journey with you as well, just to see your growth, man. So we truly appreciate you giving us the opportunity to be on. Again, good luck with everything, man. I'm going to click, buy on. I'm going to buy me a couple of masks on your website. Definitely going to get the book. I like the salty material as well. The salty merch is very good. You know, so you really are doing your thing, man. I truly appreciate, you know, what you're doing. So take care of yourself. Give your love to, you know what I'm saying, your husband and your dogs, and be safe out there, my brother.
All right, you guys see you soon.
All right.
That was fun. How was that?